performances and everything else you look at when we look towards their decision making around how to play the map out. So coming into this game number 2, I want to see a much simpler plan here from BLG, something that allows them to kind of play traditionally towards their style and have a bit more impact in these early stages.
See what they want to go for. TT still on the blue, BLG on the red. We are going to see the same bans for TT, but a slight difference here for BLG. They are taking away that Lee Sin. They do not want Xiaopeng on it. Just created too many issues.
Yeah, they're going to just remove that off the board entirely. But going to be the first pick LeBlanc coming through from, yeah, which I'm kind of surprised at. Like, I know that LeBlanc has slowly been drifting up in priority, but like, there's still a lot of other picks that I think are pretty big. Xin Xiao is the one that stands out to me, is kind of like the other big pick for the jungle now that Diana has been removed, and hell, even Viego as well. So I would have preferred, I think, to see Xiaopeng getting more comfortable, but we know Xiaopeng is pretty happy to kind of match some of these, but like, hell, look, even Rek'Sai and things like that still go towards these early strong junglers.
See what they want to go for this time, taking away the LeBlanc from Zika, and we're going to see the Kalista taken away here by BLG, so they want that for aiming in that bot side. And now for TT, I would like to see the Olaf. It is one of the few things that can go head-to-head against the Xin Zhao, can skirmish very well against that champion, but we'll see what TT want to look for as they're just hovering through pretty much absolutely everything. They actually go with the Rek'Sai again, becoming a Xiaopeng specialty this split.
I mean, it is a Xiaopeng specialty, right? Like, this guy's played it a hell of a lot. He loves this pick, and certainly something that can work well in these early skirmishes, and kind of sets up to work well with LeBlanc as well. You get the chain, or you get that knock-up coming through from the Rek'Sai. You can set up super well to try and enable you in this mid lane, and also come in for a lot of these sneaky ganks as well. Start to put a lot of pressure on towards BLG, and especially for a champion like Rek'Sai that changes the dynamic of where you need to control vision. It becomes a very interesting game for teams that haven't played against Rek'Sai recently. So I'll be curious to see how BLG do manage against that as we come into game number 2.
Silas locked in here as response to the Thresh, response to the LeBlanc, and I like the Silas in certain circumstances, but not a huge amount of great ultimates for them to take just yet. You got the Void Rush, which is nice, and the LeBlanc's abilities are also kind of nice for your mobility, but nothing massively impactful. No Gnarls, no big AoEs that will tear up a team fight. And with the Dr. Mundo banned away, you can see now BLG, they're trying to focus out towards that top side, but I feel like they're missing out on, they're going to end up not banning either the Aphelios or the Jinx, and this is the two things that are going to be the difficult choice now for BLG in this last ban.
Yeah, and I think for BLG, they definitely are a team that takes a lot slower pace. They're 14th in the league right now, so when you end up going in towards something, say, like the Lissandra physique in the mid lane, and especially with the composition they have, they're putting themselves on a very, very short timer as to when they're able to fight, to be honest, against TT. So I think here, the going towards the Silas kind of gives them a little bit more leeway to play towards that later game, but I still think for BLG, this is where we're going to see them try and ramp up the pace of this game, because if they don't capitalize on the 2-item spike that they have, they are very quickly going to fall off the wayside.
On the Leona Nautilus banned away again, you can see just taking away those champions. It was on the opposite side last time, if the Kalista was on TT, but this time giving just as much back to BLG, and they're going to go with the Rakan bot lane again. So Kalista, Rakan, Shu is on the other foot for BLG. They will take that very early game aggressive bot side, and for TT, do you go for the Jinx or the Aphelios? I feel like they're the two options you have on the board right now, and these are the two things you're looking and thinking about as you come into this final few picks.
Yeah, so for me, I think you actually go, okay, well, that could be an interesting one, but I would like to see something like the Jinx come through. I think if you're just going to match head-to-head, all right, I'm going to ignore that point, because we're going all in on this early game on both sides, right? Draven now locked in for Sam D, you've got Rek'Sai, you've got LeBlanc. This is like a we are going to murder you from the outset type of game here from TT. And unless they go towards something like a Gwen or other late game scalers in the top lane, this is going to be heavily all in on this early stages. We might still get the Gwen coming through here for TT, but bot side of the map needs to fight. They need to fight early, and these dragons are going to be a massive point of contention for both these squads.
Well, they decided not to go for the scaling, going straight for that early game engage. Level 6 is just monstrous for TT. You look at so many different ways of engaging, so many ways of catching out the members of BLG, and for BLG, it's going to be roughly the same. You're looking for their early game skirmishes. You're looking to get the Xin Zhao and the Silas into the opposition's face to create that space for your AD carry alongside the Camille.
Well, look, now for BLG, it's kind of adding that extra layer of late game scaling that we were saying just missing out on TT's side. So I like this for BB. He gets a good matchup in the top side of the map. We talked about for BLG, traditionally like to play through this top side. So now we can get to see more of that attention towards BB top side, at least from these early stages, to try and set them up nicely against this set in the top lane. But look, when you're looking towards kind of early skirmishes and early control of the map, I definitely give it to TT. LeBlanc full prio mid. Draven does really well against this Kalista, especially when paired with a Thresh. You should be able to, as TT, work through these strong early game to get these dragons, to get yourself set up and have a better mid game than your opponent.
The rosters are locked. TT looking to take only their second win of the series, or of the season, excuse me, so far. BLG trying to put a stop in that pretty damn quick. Need to force us to a game 3 if they want to try and keep that playoff dream alive. They missed out in 2021 spring, just about. They went 6-10 and ended up in 11th place. So they're looking to improve on that record if they can, but it all comes down to how this early game goes. You get those adoration stacks, you get that extra gold on that Draven, 1 or 2 axes will blow up majority of the side of BLG. And for BLG, if they can just survive it, if they can just get on top of these carries, they will find themselves in a fantastic position, like you said. So we'll see how both these teams fare up and see how different this game 2 is compared to game 1. BLG riddled with mistakes in game 1, but TT capitalizing on them. And now for BLG, it's all about steadying the ship as they come into the rift for game 2.
Yeah, and again, I think you've got to be careful here as BLG. We saw them make a hell of a lot of mistakes early in that game number 1, where they're kind of just wandering through aimlessly, giving kills over towards TT. And when you're against the Rek'Sai, you cannot do that. You have to be prepared in the early stages, especially when you're playing on this red side. You're giving so much control here for Xiaopeng to start to look towards these ganks coming over the wall with the tunnel, in behind, aiming. And against Sam D and Pudding, you're done. The second that Rek'Sai gets in behind you, you're over.
We mentioned it briefly, of course, just as we came into game 2, but Sam D coming up against his previous support in PP God, and I feel like PP God has definitely been on a little bit of a downward trend, not really, specifically in summer anyway, to not really having the same impact and presence that we've expected for him. But I feel like Sam D has still been looking relatively okay as Sam D, even if it is with a new support.
Yeah, I mean, look, Sam D he's had his really good moments. It still is, you know, he's on TT, he has been here from last bit as well. It hasn't exactly been the most triumphant of ways to leave the team, I'll say, for Sam D, but still has looked definitely better, whereas Sam D has looked better than expected, I will say. PP God has definitely looked worse than expected. We kind of thought, oh well, this guy loves to play aggressive, he's still able to make a lot of plays work, but this aggression has actually managed to be hindered a lot towards BLG, where you're giving over kills, you're not having that same impact. So I think certainly PP God, we want to see more from this guy, and I know a lot of fans want to see more from this guy as well.
Hopefully PP God can live up to those expectations. Good early ward here from Longchain to make sure he catches out any shenanigans level 2. Of course, you can do that if you like with the Xin Zhao and the Camille combination. Azika is taking a bit of a chunk and getting pushed into this mid lane. Pretty standard affair with a range versus melee matchup. Will be like this until he does hit about 4 or 5, able to hit those back lines with that Kingslayer. And again, TT just seeing very curiously now where they're able to kind of go with this Rek'Sai pick, and it looks like it's going to be a full clear topside straight into the bot lane. PP God very far extended. This is very similar to what we used to see with the Udyrs, who used to hard farm, and with his lane pushing up, Aiming doesn't really know where he wants to go with this one. Pudding walks forward. They're going to use the tunnel. Aiming may have to flash. He does, but the flash in. They're going to have to use the grand entrance to get in front of the hook. But the good move there from PP God keeps his AD carry alive. TT nearly getting themselves an advantage, but double summoners are still good.
PP God was MVP in that play. Tanks the hook, gets the exhaust on towards Draven, and manages to dash away with the second charge of the E as well. So he's just able to shut that play down. But that's exactly what we talked about, right? Xiaopeng wants to get active in these early stages, specifically down towards this bottom lane. And now you can even see Wei, he's realized how terrible of a spot this wave is in. So he's going to try and stay bot lane here to make sure that Rek'Sai isn't coming across once more.
We need to be careful now, Sam D. He has his flash and his heal available to him, so it'll be very difficult for really anyone to get on top of him. But the flash grand entrance from PP God could be the name of the play. Just waiting for him to go forward just a little bit. The Rend is there to slow him down. You can see him now jumping in straight away with the grand entrance, trying to get on top of Pudding, but the hook is good enough as the Flay is as well. But Pudding will be taken down. The Callista lands the Q as the Rek'Sai coming a little bit too little, too late. BLG strike first.
Nice job from BLG to get the righting of the ship happening in that bottom side of the map. Unfortunately for them, though, they get the kill on towards Pudding. Would have loved to manage to catch Sam D and actually finish off the Draven, shut down those adoration stacks, deny some of this CS, but you'll take it here for BLG, getting a bit of an easier time for aiming now in that bottom lane.
Good response here from BLG. It's exactly what we wanted to see from the more clear, cohesive shot calling to make sure that they don't end up falling behind. They don't end up giving away 3 kills in the first 4 or 5 minutes of the game, and still able to get themselves the advantage. Still easy for Sam D to push up this wave and get the adoration stacking going for him. And you can see Aiming trying his very, very best to just quell the wave from hitting the tower too quickly.
The big thing, though, as we start to move forward here is, like, can we actually see Xiaopeng getting these ganks to work out? Because, look, already Weiwei's answered for a lot of that pressure bot side. And again, BLG, they're the guys that got BuBu, who's going to be scaling on this top side. Now, not having the best of times right now for BuBu. Camille into set gets a little bit easier as the game goes on. You're able to use that hook shot to dodge away from the likes of the Haymaker, but still needs time before this matchup is kind of a bit more stable. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Weiwei off of the reset that we're going to see, I imagine, as he finishes this clear. Try and make something happen in that top side, especially as Long Xing, now resetting, could look to teleport back top.
Looks like he's going to walk it. Doesn't feel like he's under much pressure right now. Dragon feels like it's the name of the game now for both these sides, as the early game junglers do path and reset themselves to make sure they have as much gold as they physically can. Still waiting for Xiaopeng to go back and pick up any items just yet. There it is, Serena Dirk probably going towards that Prowler's Claw to get him back into the face of his enemies, and which Xin Zhao in this... Sorry,
we've seen Xiaopeng do this, or go play this Rek'Sai the last 2 times. It has been the Prowler's Claw that he's gone towards. We've seen a couple of different builds in solo queue, like there's the Gore Drinker, kind of more bruiser build, but certainly he's favored this more lethality style and trying to play that burst orientated playstyle, which works when you think about, hey, look, this composition from TT wants to hit the ground running, wants to win early, so finish the game before this lethality becomes irrelevant.
Love that move there from Weiwei, just putting himself in a position to be able to react should Xiaopeng be spotted out. He has now been spotted on top side, so no harm, no foul. Does mean that the wave's in a little bit of a bad position here for the bot lane of TT. It's pushing into BLG, and they'll decide whether or not they want to change that as we wait to see what the both junglers do. You can see in the replay here, oh, they just spotted him out. Nicely done there by the observers there to highlight it. They saw that Xin Zhao was in the bush, and actually, something else happened in bot lane as Sam D takes a massive chunk and will have to just back himself away from this turret. And again, the wave's just not in a great position for him.
I do want to just add on to a little bit of something that we haven't touched on, though, which is Ye's summoner spell choice, because there's been so many times that we've seen TT mid laners, like Captain was the same when he played this LeBlanc, go for the Ignite and get zero attention from Xiaopeng. Like, Xiaopeng doesn't really visit mid lane. So the fact now, again, that we're getting this where now we get into the opportunity for BLG to play this 1-3-1, Ye won't really be in a position to try and match that. I'm actually worried that if BLG, as they start to roll out this game, get control, they just go towards a 1-3-1. It makes it very difficult for TT to match map pressure, and BLG have a very definitive way to close out this game by just using the summoner spell advantage.
BuBu is going to lose so much of this wave. He's just trying to get the recall off, but good delay here from the side of TT just stopped that completely. But with 4 people coming up, TT respect it and say, look, that's fine, you guys can make that move. And it looks like the Rift Herald is going to be the first point of contention. No one really going for that early Drake. And they're looking to try and get gold in their pockets right now. Rift Herald has been started. You have both bot lanes here, but important to notice, BuBu just went back, so you have to TP into this fight. It is a 5v4 for the moment in favor of TT.
Xiaopeng's still only level 5 though, so still has to be careful.
Has to be very, very careful. There we go, flash forward. Zika might be in a little bit of trouble. Pudding lands the hook. Xiaopeng Not able to get the knock up there as they go in, but he steals it. Nicely done there by TT. They get themselves away. Weiwei not quite able to get his ultimate to knock back the jungler, and now he's going to fall. A return kill from the first blood for TT, and they get the Rift Herald. Perfectly done.
Well played by Xiaopeng, manages to get in and smite that away, and yeah, able to follow up to finish off the kill. So what could have been a disastrous play for TT, not being able to lock down Zika, turns out to be a big winner for them. Now Sam D gonna collect this wave mid, he'll be able to move back bot, and we can start to see where this pressure will be used by Xiaopeng with this Rift Herald.
Nicely done by TT. You can see them just kind of skirting around, and it just feel like BLG just let their guard down just a little bit too early.
Yeah, I actually don't mind this from BLG, right? They turn back over towards Rift Herald to try and burst it out. It's just unfortunate. Xiaopeng gets in over the wall. I'm not sure why he was left so late there by Weiwei. Actually, I suppose he still had another smite charge on his jungle item, so looked like he hadn't hit the 900, but still manages to just give enough time for Xiaopeng to get in there, burst it away. And when you've got a Kalista and a Xinqiao there never should be a world where that is not burst out by BLG and secured for them.
Yeah, unfortunately was still sitting on one stack, so like you mentioned, still on the 450, not quite on the 900, so very unfortunate timing there for the side of BLG, but great if you're a TT fan. They got themselves a nice early Rift Herald, turn that into plates to any lane they really like, as we can now see BLG hovering around this dragon, and this is where we saw in game 1, and it feels like we're kind of seeing it again in game 2. They're not quite sure where they want to go. They're kind of moving around a little bit like a headless chicken. They need to make a decision, make lane allocations, and look to make a purposeful move around this map.
Yeah, and BLG there were trying to think, hey, look, we need Biubiu to actually walk down if we want to try and contest this dragon, because Biubiu doesn't have TP, whereas Longxing, as we pointed out earlier on, walked his way back to lane. So TP advantage for TT, and BLG are trying to see if they can force that out, but they're not in a position to try and do so. Amin was already back in base, PP God was nowhere to be found. And now again, you're kind of just wasting this time here as BLG. And looking at the CS lead, you can see Longxing, he's in a great spot on top side still, yeah, has control of mid lane. The only place that you're really having an advantage for BLG is in jungle to a slight extent, and on this bot side for Amin, but this could be turned around if you end up seeing that TP from Longxing, or if Xiaopeng puts more attention there.
We do have a pause coming into the 11-minute mark. Neither team fully in the lead, about 300 gold in favor of BLG. It's pretty much all in that bot side, but we'll wait to see exactly what the issue is. And for BLG, again, we mentioned it a couple of times at the start, at the start of the day, and of course throughout the thing. This should be an easy win for them, and there are no easy wins within the LPL, but this should be a comfortable win for them. This should be a victory they should be coming out with confidence and momentum as they hit their massive gauntlet in the next 4 games. But it feels like they're just disorientated, disjointed, don't know where to go, don't know where to be, and I want to see more from this team because I know they can do better.
Yeah, and it's sad because, I mean, both games we've seen Weiwei do a really good job of matching the pressure that Xiaopeng was going to put down, right? We saw him just shadowing him pretty much all of game 1 in the kind of first 7 to 8 minutes. We're seeing it again in this game where Weiwei actually shadows and gets the kill on bot side for BLG as well. But when it comes to these team fights, when it comes towards these skirmishing decisions, that's where BLG are falling apart. It looks disconjointed, the coordination's all over the place, nothing looks like it's coming together. And a large portion of that seems to be a split call, right? Zika is off on the side trying to say, hey, look, maybe I can find this flank, maybe I can get something going here. Whereas the rest of the team wants to turn towards the Rift Herald. Or even in that last Baron fight that we saw in game number 1, you get half the team having finished the Baron going over the wall, and then you end up in a position, or even, sorry, that's actually TT, but we're seeing it both messy on both sides. But like, when we're getting Biubiu coming over the wall with Weiwei, they're kind of looking for a fight, but the rest of BLG are still sitting over the wall. They want nothing to do with it. So you're like, well, why is Biubiu going over the wall? Are you looking for a steal, or are you looking for a fight? It just seems like no one has any idea as to how exactly they want to try and play out this game.
Again, different calls coming from different people. And it's something that you cannot afford to do in the LPL. Yes, this is technically a bottom tier team, but they will punish you. They will still have the work ethic and the work setup to be able to make this a much more difficult game for you. And now we see TT looking to see if they can get something of a gank in this bot side, but with Xiaopeng not quite able to get himself the unburrow knockup, will not lead to anything more than just a little bit of scare tactics. But Xin Zhao Weiwei is sitting in this bot side, sitting in the bush, so, or around the bush. They know that they have got the opportunity to be able to, you know, defend this bot lane should anything untoward happen.
Yeah, they do get the Rift Herald placed in mid. Yade actually picked that up, so he's able to just pop that down for himself. Xiaopeng got a shadow just to make sure that Ye is able to get as much out of that as possible. But again, like, I want to see more from TT in these early stages. They got honestly kind of lucky in the last game that BLG gave them so many kills in the early stages. If you want to make this game work, TT need to put some pressure on towards Ye and actually get him out of this mid lane. Like, Ye can do so much work if this was a 3-man dive top lane, but Ye lets the play, and Biu. Oh, nice.
Oh, nicely done. Gets the showstopper down. There's a Hexagon ultimatum. He's going to use the Void Rush, and Xiaopeng picks himself up a kill. While that was happening, BLG get themselves the first dragon of the game. They make the dive work, and they burn the summoner off the top lane. I think that that's a bit of a win for top lane, but again, dragon stacking, not the best.
Yeah, I mean, look, the dragon stacking at this stage, 12 minutes is the first one going down. You're not too worried here as TT. You're still going to be able to contest for a lot of these. It just means that you put a lot of pressure up towards top, towards trying to shut down Biu. Whereas Sam D now is sitting on a ton of adoration stacked. He needs to cash in before he goes down. And when you're sitting this much pressure up towards top side, it gives the opportunity for BLG to start looking for plays bot, especially when Zika has that teleport. He can try and join in at any moment.
A quick replay of exactly how it went down, but this is just great reactions from Xiaopeng, recognizing that he needs to hit him just before the hook shot goes in and cancels that animation.
Yeah, and it means that then as well, Longxing, he's able to keep a hold of his flash. Now, Rek'Sai without flash is a very different beast. He's not anywhere near as threatening in a lot of these skirmishes and fights, so certainly when you look towards this next Rift Herald, unless Xiaopeng can try and find some creative flanks to get into these fights, it should be a moment where, as BLG, you're like, right, we actually can try and fight this. We're just as strong. Yes, Biu doesn't have flash, but when the jungler is less impactful and it keeps aiming safe, that's where we should be looking to try and threaten.
The gold, just a little bit in favor, about 1,500 in favor of TT. The plates have now fallen. Does TT prioritize gold now versus power later, as the trade for plates and dragon tends to go? And you got 2 kills under this Rek'Sai. So again, Xiaopeng having a fantastic early game, having a great impact around the map. But we saw it in the last time he played this. Rek'Sai does have a lot of issues towards the late game. Doesn't have the same amount of impact as you would like as, say, a Xin Zhao or even an Olaf, those more recognized meta early game players. And now we can see, yeah, moving up towards this top side, maybe they look try and just take out Biu, but a good ward in the tri-brush stops any kind of fight happening. And now we see BLG using that pressure they have in mid lane, pushing in, trying to make sure they don't lose this Rift Herald.
Yeah, and you can see TT are playing this well. They have Ye, who's actually pushing in that top side. He doesn't have TP, so he's positioned close to the Rift Tower, which is the next big play. But again, TT need to be careful coming into this fight. Like, Longxing going to be late to joining in on this play. Biu's already in a position to hop in, but you don't have flash on Xiaopeng. Sam D still hasn't cashed in. Now, has the Immortal Shield Bow. They're in a good spot, but unless you can guarantee this fight, I think you just back away here as TT.
Yeah, you see there the Whirling Death used to see, are they on it? They are in fact on it, but the TP is in. Xiaopeng is around. They're going to try and maybe turn this one around, as we can see force the flash away. They haven't finished off the Rift Herald just yet. Now we can see TT maybe going off to the side of this. Weiwei does get the smite down and does pick himself up that buff. Now the fight can really start. Xiaopeng is the first one to fall. The Silas picks up the shutdown on that one. The set is dead as well. Sam D trying to put down the damage, but he has to flash away. He's immediately caught, but has the dark passage to get himself out. The whip back from the distortion as forcing himself over the wall. Zika still full HP and hunting for kills as Sam D and the rest of his squad get themselves out. But it is a very much big win for the side of BLG.
This is the second time now this Rift Herald has popped up, and TT have not had the numbers in place to actually go for that fight. Yeah, still in base, only making his way back. It means that fight is pretty much done before the LeBlanc even becomes a factor. Now, mid lane turret goes down, top lane turret goes down, and BLG get this massive influx of gold to get themselves in a position where they are now stronger than TT.
And again, you talk about those adoration stacks just not quite being there, and this is just a good, not able to get anywhere near this fight. You can see he just jumped in straight away, and he means he has to jump out.
Yeah, he was late to the party, so you've already got this big engage that's come through before this happened. Now TT, like, you've just lost Longxing. Has been pretty much negligible thanks to the impact, and unfortunately for him, Bubu on point. This is one of the issues with playing LeBlanc into a Camille. She locks you down so incredibly well, means you can't actually escape, and means your more temporary stay turns into a permanent one very quickly.
BLG now got themselves 1,000 gold lead. They have the Rift Herald available should they want to use it pretty much anytime, anywhere. Dragon spawning in 20 seconds. You're just not in a position to contest it, I feel. Yes, you've got yourself those first items pretty much across the board here, but you're just not at a point of power here for TT that realistically would put you in a position to come out of this fight alive. And a lot of summoners were burned on that last side, specifically on TT. No flashes for anyone on the bot side, no flashes or for the mid laner either. And Xiaopeng now has his. Does he go for the engage? And yeah, goes in with a double distortion. We're going to see Pudding not able to get anything going for him. Xiaopeng just dies. I just don't... What is happening, TT? Why would you commit to that? Again, similar situation to BLG and Game 1. They just weren't on the same page.
And it was even a case of, like, if that went well, Pudding and Sam D weren't able to follow up. Like, Pudding had no flash to get over the wall to try and go for a hook. Sam D as well. So that was always going to be a two-man fight. And I can understand, look, Xiaopeng, he got his flash back up. He's trying to see if he can make some plays. But you got to be cognizant as to when your team can actually follow. And that was not one of the plays.
This is where BLG can make this game go away very, very quickly. They now turned a 1,000 gold lead into a 2,500 gold lead. They're pushing, actually 3,000 now at this point. They're pushing in those side lanes. The Kallista's getting huge. The Camille's becoming undealable right now. And this is where TT start to struggle. This is where we've, historically seen them falter, as now they look to try and maybe get something back. But Bubu, he's on the Camille. He should be fine unless he decides to recall there. And now he's not so fine, because now he's in a little bit of a trouble. He's going to get caught up, knocked up, and trying to be taken down. Good fillet as Bubu has to commit the Hextech ultimatum. Xiaopeng picks up his third kill of the game. It is a consolation prize, but TT will take it.
It's a nice job from TT though, because I was actually about to say, look, remember we talked about the opportunity for 1-3-1 from BLG, but they hadn't quite got the top lane set up for themselves yet, so it meant that they could commit 3 members bot. BLG not really able to get much back. Yes, they can shove in topside, but it's not like TT have actually lost anything. So now they're able to threaten this bot side, should be able to get bot lane turret, push that wave fully in, and slow down BLG being able to enact this 1-3-1 style with that summoner spell advantage on the teleport.
BLG looking at them as well. You've got 203 onto aiming. He's got himself his Gwynzoos alongside that stopwatch on the back of his Immortal Shield Bow. You, of course, have the 201 Zika with the Silas. You are just getting to a point, and that hasn't even touched on the CS leads they have, of course, in the bot lane as well, and in the mid, the jungle. So this is just where BLG tend to know what they're doing. They have a much stronger composition as the game stands right now, and it's going to be on them, their onus, to make sure that they don't get to the 6 items or the 5 item state of the game at 40-45 minutes.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for TT to try and stop that is to get control of these side lanes. Like, shove them right the way out. It's a little bit difficult with 3 minutes until Dragon. Like, you'd love to be able to shove waves and move towards that objective, but because you're going to have that double TP coming up for BLG, it makes it far easier for BLG to play these sides, actually have Wei aiming and PP God threaten that Dragon, and then double TP to the fight and make it more difficult for TT to respond.
Right now, BLG, they're very happy. They don't need to do much more than what they're doing. It's kind of force the TT side to push in, to get them around these Dragon pits, these Baron pits, to make sure that they know that they have the advantage. And again, there's no... If it's not broke, don't fix it. They can just keep changing all the vision, keep pushing up a little bit further, making sure they're not taken down. But PP God is going to be blown up. Now Wei in a little bit of trouble. TP coming out here for TT. Not quite able to get the disruption there on top of Wei, and he's forced to flash after the Black, as we can see now the Void Rush, but that is just Xiaopeng getting deleted again, overzealous on the play, and what started off so well just ends a little bit in disappointment.
And that's one of the problems with the Rek'Sai, right? She's incredibly squishy, especially when you go for this lethality build. And unfortunately, TT not in a position to follow up. But now BLG, with no jungler available, will turn towards this Baron.
Oh, Pudding, he just gets completely caught out and taken down. But that being said, you're looking at Sam D, you're looking at this set, putting down the damage. Wei has no ult, he can't mitigate the damage, and that's Longsheng picking up a kill. You can see Zika now, after coming out of his Zhonya, Sam D just dissuading anything else from happening. Ends up being a trade of 1-for-1, but it was the jungler of BLG that died, so they cannot go for the objective.
Sam D is never going to get a kill. It's just not going to happen. He's been sitting on so many adoration stacks and cannot, even in the very last second, Longsheng managed to steal that one away from him. But Baron denied. It is going to be a big win. The kill does go over towards Pudding. You get one back on towards Wei. So, grand scheme of things, it's an even trade. And TT will be pretty happy that they managed to stop the big purple worm from going down.
Very curious. I'm going to keep an eye out on the left-hand side of the screen when the next time they go over to Drave and see exactly how many stacks he's singing out, because that could be a massive payout right there.
So much money.
It could be so much money. It could be enough for the majority of a Infinity Edge at that point if we are getting into 23, 24 minutes into this game. In 20 seconds, though, is going to be the Mountain Dragon spawning here for the side of BLG. They are sitting on 2 dragons. They would love to make that a sole point as TTs try and stop them. They're still waiting, though, for that second item for Drave. Is still waiting for that Essence Reaver to come out, and not really in a great position of power. They're going to be struggling to take down a lot of these carries.
Yeah, and I think that's the big issue here is that, like, with Yubu now hitting pretty much peak performance here for these fights with the Ravenous Hydra completed, he's incredibly strong. He's so good at locking down the likes of can't really threaten backline, and we're in.
We are in. We're going to see them jumping in straight away. Whirling Deck goes over. Longsheng trying to keep away, aiming as they go in for the dragon, which is reset. And they're going to go back into it. It is going to be Soul Point, though, picked up. And now Sam D taking down all those stacks to waste. You invested in the wrong stocks, my buddy, and it just did not pay out. The dip was too strong. And now BLG on Soul Point can turn, burn, and look for the big purple worm.
And Zika just going to try and threaten here, get him pushed off. And BLG, the team fighting, looking far superior now. Now they're looking more on track, and it's TT who we're kind of looking at, holding our heads, going, what are you doing? But yeah, now still sitting off here on the side. I mean, you're not going to be able to threaten this as LeBlanc. Like, it's done for.
I like the idea. I also like the execution of saying, right, I've been spotted. I need to leave because the only way I die is if they know I'm here. And recognizing that he was on a pink ward, that is going to be the Baron going down alongside the tier 2 in bot lane. And this is TT now struggling to come back into this. Sam D just never got off the ground.
And we never got to see more pressure towards that bottom side to help him. But you see here, like, Sam D, you're kind of in a hard spot, right? You've already flashed away. You end up stuck in the pit. He will take the lantern, but it's just followed straight over by... Oh, actually, no, he gets abandoned. Xiaopeng takes the lantern and then abandons him in the pit after he's flashed. Oh, no. It's a disaster.
Oh, Xiaopeng, I'm not saying you can't take the lantern. I'm just saying there's a priority list of people who need to take that lantern. Oh yeah? Oh no. As he does actually end up taking the lantern, there is a priority for you, and TT get himself out. But that is, again, yeah, they're able to survive, but survive is not exactly thriving. You're really struggling here to see what they can do. Finally have a second item onto the Draven, but he is still a million miles away from being that one-shot carry that we know and love to see in the LPL.
Yeah, we're not going to get it this game. I mean, the fact he's died, lost so many adoration stacks, really does suck for Sam D. And now, again, they're going to start putting pressure from BLG. You send BU mid, he's the one that's able to threaten in this 1-4. You have always got the opportunity, as soon as this TP comes up from Zika, to spread this out further. So, GT, they're just under too much pressure, and their wave clear kind of sucks to try and deal with a Baron.
Yeah, you're kind of relying on the distortion in, but you distort in, you're probably not coming back out, so very, very difficult to really do much here. Exactly what I just talked about. You distort in, you have to try and take that fight straight away. The box goes down, but the Fate's Call is enough to keep the PP God alive. And you're splitting them up, you're just pushing in the waves. You've got Camille on this bot side now, and a lot of ultimates are down.
It did what was necessary, though, which was trying to break the siege top so they could deal with bot, but looks like it may not give enough time for TT to move across as this whispered up cannon minion is doing so much work. But yeah, BLG are doing a really nice job of freezing the wave before they start shoving to actually get these waves crashing at the same time. You can see the results here, right? You've got too many movements here for TT to do.
Well, good hook there onto Weiwei. He's got knocked in by the ethereal chain. We can see Zika jumping in now as well. It's just chains after chains, a lot of hooks and crooks, but BLG are the ones that are coming out on top of all of this. They get themselves one inhibitor on top side. They're going to be able to take themselves two now in the bot lane. This might be the last stand here for the side of TT. You can see there the TP going to be coming in from Zika, but they do land the kill onto the recon. So that's one down. 4 more to go. Sadly, though, for the side of TT, Xiaopeng is on the wrong side of this map, and he needs to get himself home. He's not going to be able to try and find him. Ooh, just about able to get away from Zika. Knows that he's now safe, and they're able to just defend for another day.
Yeah, hooks, crooks, and zero functions there for TT to be able to defend their base. Like, there's just absolutely no way they're going to be able to hold on to this one. As BLG now, they get back onto the map. Dragon in a minute. It's going to be totally fine for them.
Could have swore you were going somewhere else. It caught me off guard a little bit.
No,
but
I never would. What are you
I don't
talking
know.
about?
Yep, don't know what you're talking about. But
don't you
yeah.
dare make assumptions about what I'm about to say.
Don't you put those words in my mouth. Don't you dare try and make this about me. But anyway, coming back into the game, we can see TT just trying to see if they can get some vision control back in their jungle. Weiwei is sitting here waiting to see if someone just steps a little bit too far forward. And in 30 seconds, honestly, if this Mountain Soul does go in the back pocket of BLG, you lose. But if you overcommit to it, and TT, even if you do get it, your base is open, you probably lose anyway. So it's a catch-22 here for the side of TT, and I don't think they've got much of a choice other than just leave it and let it go.
Yeah, I mean, it's done, honestly, for TT. The fact that they weren't able to get this Draven ahead in the early game means Sam D is not a part of this. He hasn't been able to get himself up and rolling. Threatening any of these champions is just not going to be an issue. Sterik's Gage completed now for BuBu means he's great in these team fights as well. Basically a functional tank. And when you look at the way the TT want to try and burst someone out, so when you come into the grand scheme of things, you just don't have a chance here.
I love the effort. A for effort for Sam D, trying to use the Whirling Death, seeing if he could catch out a little bit of a misrend or something, but was not to be. As you now have 4 items onto the Callista, doing a absurd amount of AoE damage with the Runan's Hurricane as well, and yeah, seeing if he can find a flank, but I don't know if that's the position you want to be in just yet. And talked about the pseudo tankiness you get with that Mountain Soul. It just becomes so difficult when you try to put in the poke down, and now the engage can really begin. Yay, Weiwei nearly catching onto someone, but not quite able to get the full flank, and actually going to see a little bit of a turn here. Thresh is the first one to fall. There goes Xiaopeng. Longqing left in no man's land. Even with the haymaker, he's not able to land his mark, and that is going to be enough for the side of BLG to jump straight onto Sam D, take him down, add him to the KDAs, and my friends, my audience, and everyone watching, we are going to a Game 3 in our first series of the day.
Yeah, BLG will manage to take down the Nexus here, and it's all she wrote for TT in game number 2.
Seeing a trend right now between the AD carries. Whoever gets the Callista tends to have a much better time. Those early game skirmishes becoming so important for both of these sides. You can see it there. Game 1, TT get the first early kills. They're not really able to do much with their jungler. It doesn't free